Greetings, mortals, and welcome. Please present your tickets for validation. Thank you. Your existence has been acknowledged, and you have been granted access every Thursday and Friday. You will be accompanying your guides, Krista and Brandy, along with a world-renowned guest. They will be exploring an intriguing tendril of what humans refer to as reality each week, as they strive to advance you further down the path to the truths of your physical earth and what lies on the other side. Remember to please keep your hands and feet in the vehicle at all times, and do not exit until the craft has come to a complete stop.
Hey everybody, boo. How you doing, everybody? Happy Friday. I had to stop and think of what day it was because I'm normally on Saturdays. But as you can tell, the Krista and Brandy are not here tonight. They are out in Alabama for the Alabama Bigfoot conference. Hope everybody is who's down there is having a good old time. We are going to hold down the fort for tonight. So I'm going to rename the show Salt and Pepper and Booze. Salt and Pepper. Hope everybody had a good week. Happy Friday, like I said before. Great time. We are waiting for Monica Rawlins to show up. Hopefully she comes on here soon. Thank you all for joining in the chat. Beautiful day out here. Hope everybody's having a great day, great weekend. Hey, if you guys have any questions, feel free to throw them out to me. Right now I'm running solo. Please hit the like. Yeah, please hit the like. This is going to be an interesting show. Later on tonight, we will have at about 8:30 Central Time. We will have Paranormal Roundtable. So we will be off by then. Did he say salt and pepper and booze? Yes, I did, Freaky. Salt and pepper and booze. Got the salt and pepper hair. Blondes and booze. Yeah, salt and pepper and booze. Paula hit 2 like buttons. Okay. Hit it twice. Just don't hit the thumbs down. So how's everybody doing out there in Chatland? Hope you guys are having a good night, having a good week. My week is just starting. This is my Tuesday. I work all weekend. So started the week out with root canal. Fun times. Good way to start the week. We are not having Bloody Marys, unfortunately, Suji. Where you at? There you are. Whoop. No Sujis, or no Sujis tonight. No, unfortunately, no Bloody Marys. Let's see. Take that off. Let's put support the ladies. See what we got going on here. Any questions or if anybody wants to, I'm going to put the link out here. I'll put that in the chat. Pam, her husband and her husband are celebrating their 38th anniversary. Happy anniversary, Pam. That is very cool. Here's the link I'm going to throw up there in case anybody wants to. I'll pin it to the. I can't pin it. Well, the link is on there if you want to. I forgot I'm not. Here, let me see if I can do it on mine. There it is. I keep forgetting I'm not This isn't my show. I'm not pinning it, posting as me. I'm posting as they won't let me pin. Well, happy anniversary, Pam. Anyway, so I also wanted to mention that we have Malvern Mansion coming up soon. That's Josh Hurd's place in Iowa. Let me try and get the dates here. It's going to be Saturday, July 13th. Tickets are available through Eventbrite. She doesn't have a... What's that? Nope. She doesn't have a slide for that, but Malvern Mansion, go to Eventbrite, I believe, and it'll be under Blondes and Booze. So then you would just look up Malvern Mansion. I hear that place is awesome. Looking forward to going out there. July 13th. Hopefully, as many of you guys can show up and tour the place, do some ghost hunting. That'll be fun. Just like we did over in Ashmore Estates back last month, I believe it was. Time flies. Had a great time out there. It was my first ghost hunting experience. Crystal, yeah, I'm gonna try and go. I have the vacation time, but I'm gonna try and go. Hey T-Bone, how you doing? Sorry you're late. You're fine. Glad you're here. Hi Jackie. Hi Moon at Noon. But like I said, Ashmore was a fantastic time. It wasn't creepy at all. Not sure how Malvern is. I heard there's it's not, I guess it's not demonic or anything, but I heard there's a lot of really cool stuff that goes on there. And Josh has, every now and then Josh will have a camera going in his attic or someplace at the mansion, at the manor. And you can clear on over there and watch it. It's pretty cool. It is pretty cool. Jojo, I thought you were talking to me. Hi, lovely lady. Yeah. Yes. But she was talking to Moon at Noon. Oh, wait, I can do this. There's that. Let's take that off. Hang on a second. So again, if anybody wants to jump in and come on here. Nope, I can't. I thought I was trying to. Massive chemtrails in the sky here in Missouri. Where are you at right now? Where are you at in Missouri? I know here in St. Louis, there is in Chesterfield tomorrow, there's going to be a big air show with the Blue Angels and all kinds of, I saw the stealth bomber flying around, fighter jets flying around. That's kind of cool going out there and see. If you haven't ever seen that, and if you haven't ever seen a documentary of how the Blue Angels fly, it is incredible how close they are together. Somebody told me today at work that they were like 18 inches apart at sometimes going 400 miles an hour. And imagine doing that. That would just be crazy. Those are always fun to watch, the air shows. Okay. I'm gonna... All righty. Let me see if I had... Hey, Moon. Let me see if I have a couple stories to share with you. I don't know that I do. Actually, I do know. So, Fisher of Spam has shared some stories with me, and I have them right here. Love the Blue Angels. Have been in Owensboro, Kentucky. Yeah, they are cool. Smurfy, I got a Blue Angels pilot signature on. Wow. I saw him live one time when I was in, I think I was in St. Augustine. I saw them one time live with my parents, long time ago. And recently here in St. Louis, we have Scott Air Force Base. There's my thumbs up. Scott Air Force Base right across the river in Illinois. And they have the Thunderbirds were flying around. I had a air show and all kinds of other cool planes, cargo planes. It's just awesome. Work at a base where it beats. Oh, cool. That would be cool. I'm not going to ask what you do because I don't know that you would be able to tell us what you do. Okay, I am looking at some stuff here that I got from Fisher's Spam. Let's see here. So this story was from, and I'm reading it. Normally, I kind of write it to where I talk. And Monica hasn't showed up yet. So I usually put it not in my words, but kind of fit it to the way I talk. But I haven't had a chance to do this one yet. So actually, I do have one of his stories. Let me please hold for a second. Here it is. Okay. Okay, here we go. So this one again was from Fisher Spam. I'm gonna try and finagle this. So okay, he's a retired Air Force. Don't work on the planes anymore. I was a bomb loader. Oh wow, cool. Okay, here's the story. One of the stories from Fisher Spam here. One night, the wife was off from work, and we were both asleep in bed. And it was around 3 o'clock in the morning when we were both woken by what sounded like critters fighting outside our bedroom window. Didn't know if it was possums or raccoons, but they were all making a bad racket. My wife was mad at being woken up and assumed our outside dog was killing something out the window like it normally does. This line of thinking bothered me, and I had a family of raccoons that lived in a hollow tree across the driveway from us. They were very nice and would come hang out with me at night, and I had a little campfire and drank beer. The dog never bothered them before, but she did love to kill every other animal that came around. I agreed and got up and went outside to take a look. There was nothing there. I walked around the camper, calling the dog multiple times, but there was just silence. So, just want to stop there for a second. Imagine hearing a bunch of noises outside in the middle of the night, and you have an outside dog and you don't hear anything. You go outside and you call it and you don't hear anything. My heart would be racing. Let's see here. I returned inside and asked the wife, "Did you get the dog?" She asked me, "Did I get the dog?" I said, "Yeah, I got it handled. Go to sleep." So we were just laying there about to drift off to bed when it starts back up. She punches me and tells me to get the dog and to not come back until it's handled. She needs to start back on days soon. I guess she used to work overnight. She needs to start back on days soon, and she's very exhausted. I was already rolling out of bed before she asked that and assured her I was going to figure it out. I grabbed a flashlight, a shoes, and headed on out. I once again walked around the camper calling the dog. I looked under the camper, nothing. Walked all over the yard, around the buildings, into the back pasture a good ways, and saw nothing. And more importantly, heard nothing as well. It was baffling, and I was out there at least a good 15 minutes before I gave up. I started back towards the trailer, and before I turned the corner to be able to be at the front of the camper, I noticed a light in the sky. The light looked to be only a few hundred feet off the ground, and at most was about the size of a baseball and looked like a soft white, like a light bulb color, almost slightly an orange color. I saw that, and all the stories flooded my mind, all the CE5 talks that felt real, but I didn't know if they were real or not. That also came to my mind. My only thought I actually said out aloud was, I don't know what the hell that is, but I don't want to have anything to do with that. So I finished my trip around the corner. Thoughts of the pet's safety abandoned. Again, I would be scared to death that something had happened to my little dogs. I don't know what possessed me to do what I did, but before I opened that door, I shined my flashlight back up the driveway. I very much regret this now later in life. I really do. If I'm lying, then I'm dying, because I know what I saw. At the end of the driveway, standing in the middle of the road, is a giant shadow. It's darker than the blackest black, as if this thing is absorbing all the light around it as a reverse predator cloak or something. I don't know how else to describe it. The light I'm using is a rechargeable floodlight, not a spotlight. So I don't know if there is a way to overpower the blackness or not. Although it is not the brightest light in the world, it is lighting up everything around it enough that I can see the outline of this creature. There's Monica.
Hey,
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you tonight?
Good. Hey, I'm just doing a quick story that I got from Fisher of Spam, real quick.
Awesome.
I think we're
right.
almost done with it, and then we can get going here. So where was I? See the outline of the creature. What I see is something that is very tall, at least 7.5 feet, and it is slightly larger head, but not disproportional. It has a longer neck that connects to a wide and flat shoulder that forms a triangle type shape with its chest where its ribs end. From there, the stomach comes down, and this thing is skinny. Like I feel as though I could wrap my hands completely around this thing's stomach. It was as if it had no organs at all, and it was just skin stretching over a spine, connecting everything. The hip is heart-shaped, just like a human's. Only once again, it's like skin is stretched over the hip bone, like you would see hanging in your science class. The legs are very long, and appear to have an extra joint, like where your ankle is. Another leg segment comes out, and then the foot starts. It was very big or mantis-like. Its arms were also very long and skinny. I remember that its hands hung down a little past his knees with fingers that are every bit of 10 inches or longer. Even though this thing is black and absorbing all the light, I could still make out the definition of shapes and the depth of this thing's body. As for height, I know what people say that about memory and how we as humans judge height. In my defense of stating it that it is at least 7 feet tall, more likely 8, that I have at this time. At this time, and for years before, I've always worked at a restaurant. One of my best friends was 6'9", and probably taller than that in his work boots. This restaurant is huge, and I am more than aware of how my friend looks at a distance from work, and him as tall as he is. For that being said, I am very confident in judging this thing's height. So that is what I'm seeing with the light, and I am just frozen. This thing is looking away from me and then notices that everything around it is lit up. It turns its head and looks at me, and its entire eye is reflecting back the white light of the flashlight. It looks at me, and then its eyes go wide in surprise, as if it's saying something to himself. Oh shit, it sees me. His eyes were not the typical huge wraparound almond eyes that you hear about. Yes, they were larger and slightly almondish in the way Asians look, I guess, but they were proportional. So it sees me. Does the face, then turns its body and starts to run. I can see about 200 feet down the road from where I am standing. It runs this distance in a flash. Just boom, 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 gone. Can't see it anymore. I'm just frozen in place in my underwear with a flashlight. I'm in shock, and I finally was able to snap out of it and run to the house. At this point, I'm freaking out pretty bad. I grab my 9mm pistol and chamber a round. I stand in front of the door just waiting. I'm waiting for any sound at all that I'm going to unload 18 rounds of 147 grain spear hollow points through the walls of that sound. And it's a good thing that my wife doesn't snore, because at that point I would have unloaded. Oddly enough, she didn't make a sound at all when I slammed the door behind me, frantically got my pistol. As I stayed in front of that door for about 15 minutes, scared out of my mind and waiting till waiting to fill this thing full of lead. Then I'm not really sure how to explain it, but I had mind speak. It was clear as day, as if the person was right next to me. Yet the sound seemed to be in the center of my head. It said to me, "If I wanted to kill you, you would already been dead. Go back to sleep." I once again don't know how to explain it, but once it spoke to me, I, like a robot, rose, unloaded my pistol, put the bullet out of the chamber, set it all down on the couch, walked back to the bedroom, climbed into bed, and was out like a light. I had no control of the situation at all. I remember screaming at myself inside of my head to stop moving away from the door. I had to stay and protect us from this thing no matter what. Unfortunately, though, I was unable to control myself. Like I said, I was like a robot. I woke up the next morning in a panic. I rose straight up and ran for the pistol. I looked around and noticed that the wife wasn't there, having gone to work that morning, and it was solidly mid-morning. I needed to get ready for class myself and had zero intention of staying home, so I rushed to get ready and left. I did spend a few seconds to call the dog before I left. She didn't show up, so I hauled ass out. The day was strange for me, to say the least. I was scared out of my mind and jumpy the whole day. I think the thing that saved my sanity was just my own sheer disbelief of the events. It was a survival mechanism, and I just couldn't believe what had actually happened to me. Luckily enough for me, my classes went late, and when I came home, the wife was already home, and I didn't have to be by myself. This is how I was able to keep my sanity long enough for me to accept what happened. Not being in control of my own body was the most terrifying part of the experience, in my opinion. The good news is that my dog did show up on the third day, thank God. He was covered in mud and shaking like a leaf. Apparently, she was hiding in a sinkhole in the pasture and was not happy about what she saw. It takes a lot to scare a cow dog like her, who loves to kill critters and chase coyotes. She was never the same after that, and I can relate, as I wasn't either. On a Google image search, just put in tall gray alien, then look up the pics that pop up with the general description I gave, and that's pretty much what it looked like. Wow. That was freaky.
Yeah.
That was freaky. So that came from Fisher of Spam. He sent that to me a while back. So anyway, Monica, how you doing today?
I am good. How are you doing?
Doing good. So I renamed the show Brunette and Salt and Pepper and Booze.
It works.
Yeah, they're not here, so why not?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah. That's what happens when you leave me in control of things.
I mean, really, it could be salt and pepper and booze because, truthfully, I've got salt and pepper here too. So.
Well, we can't see it though.
Yeah.
Salt and pepper and a cool hat.
There you go.
All right.
So what's on the agenda for tonight? What are we going to talk about?
We're going to talk about Bigfoot.
All right.
Yeah. So, many of you know in chat, I think, I'm new to this field. I'm more of the ghost and aliens side of the paranormal. But I'm learning more and more about the Bigfoot situation, and I've talked to many people who have witnessed Bigfoot, who have researched it, and one of my favorite stories that I've heard is from Ernie Davio. I mean, I've heard BMR's story and Barton Nunnelly's story. Those are all fantastic, but I don't know if you've heard of Ernie Davio's story.
Not off the top of my head, it does not sound familiar.
He was in out east. I want to say Pennsylvania. I'm not quite sure if that's the right area, but he was out east somewhere, and he was hunting. He was a hunter, and he was deer hunting at the time, and he was on a hill going down a hill, and I think there was a lake or something at the bottom of the hill. I'm probably butchering the story, but I'm getting the gist of it.
Sure.
So he hears something off to the side. There's like brush and rocks kind of obstructing his view from the other side. So he's trying to kind of creep down the hill to see if he can get a better shot at this, what he thinks might be a deer. So as he's slowly going down this hill, he looks to his left, and about 50 yards away, he sees something kind of crouching down by a tree. So he's kind of stopped and he's looking at it, and he starts to raise his gun to it. and then it starts to stand up, and then he realizes it's not a deer. And when it stands up, this thing is well over 8 feet tall. So they just they're frozen and they're just kind of staring at each other. He's keeping the gun pointed at the creature this whole time, which he later says is a Bigfoot. And slowly the Bigfoot walks towards him. And he's kind of giving him hand gestures like hands up, I come in peace. I don't have any weapons or anything. I'm not going to hurt you. This is kind of what he's sensing from this thing. And at this point, they are pretty close to each other, maybe 10 feet.
Oh my gosh.
He still has his gun pointed at the Bigfoot. And he slowly kind of lowers the gun down, and everything is fine. So they kind of he's trying to figure out what to do, and he's kind of giving hand gestures like, hi, I'm not going to hurt you. Everything's fine. And it's kind of what the Bigfoot was doing in return.
Okay.
So then a little bit later, another maybe more juvenile Bigfoot comes running in front of them. Apparently, there was 2 other Bigfoot over there getting a deer, hunting a deer. And this I guess the parent, the adult Bigfoot, was over here kind of teaching them how to hunt or something.
Okay.
And the juvenile sees Ernie and starts to come towards him. And the adult Bigfoot kind of, I don't want to say, stops him or something, but kind of grunts and stuff. And then the juvenile takes off. That was a pretty crazy story. And again, I probably butchered that, but that was the gist of it.
That's insane. I mean, being that close to one
Mm-hmm.
is got to be terrifying, right? This thing just rises up. It's 10 feet from you. And then you have 2 more, like a juvenile.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming was it another adult? I don't.
Yeah. I think it was 2 juvenile on his right. He never saw the second one, but he heard it as the other juvenile was coming around the rocks and the brush. And then he did say that, after all the Bigfoot left, he went down and did see the mutilated deer that was on the other side of that. And then he pretty much said he just got the hell out of
Yeah,
Dodge.
I mean, who wouldn't?
Yeah. But I mean, even now, that story just kind of gives me chills.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine being out, alone hunting. And I mean, you hear all the stories, where people usually they encounter them, maybe not quite that close, that are scary, but to have them just pop up on you that close, I mean,
yeah,
good gravy. I mean, but if he was getting that feeling, like, hey, I don't, don't mean you any harm. If it was making the gestures, I wonder if it was mimicking him or if it had learned that. I mean, it had learned it somewhere.
Yeah. And yeah, Freaky, that would have been great if he would have gotten video, but I mean, put yourself in his shoes. I mean, you're hunting, you probably don't have your phone handy. You might have it with you in your back pocket or something, but then something like this terrifying happens. You're probably frozen in fear.
Yeah, my camera's probably the last thing I'd be thinking of. Just trying to assess the risk in front of you would be the focus, I would imagine.
And pretty much, my God, is this going to be it? Am I going to be food for this family of Sasquatch, or what's going to happen to me?
Yeah, they're like, no, we're good on deer. We got deer. We're full up on deer.
Yeah, I wish I could remember where that was, but that was I
haven't heard that one before. That's a great story.
Yeah, I had him on last year sometime, and he told the story. He's been on Matt's show, Planet 412, been with Ryan and Tom on when they had their show together. So yeah, he was a good guy, Ernie.
Yeah.
So you're you spent a long time researching Bigfoot, correct? Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
I've always kind of been wondering, and I've always kind of asked people this: how did you want to get into doing this kind of stuff, researching Bigfoot or researching any kind of paranormal stuff?
Anything paranormal? Well, I've been interested in the paranormal and spooky goings-ons for as far back as I can remember, right? My mom used to terrify me as a young child with stories of Lechusa. And I don't know, even though I was terrified, I was interested, I guess. And I had a grandfather who very much believed in legends like that. And growing up in Northern California, you're surrounded by it.
Yeah.
And we'd summer in Southwest Oregon again, pretty prolific Bigfoot country. So, I mean, it's been in my life, my whole life, story-wise, or just the interest in it. And, as I grew up, I would love reading stories, like any book I could find, because, I'm the era of, there was no computers when I was young. I had to go to the actual library with the card catalog and research to see what kind of paranormal books they may or may not have for me.
Yeah. Our Google search was what was the index cards? What are those called at a library? Dewey Decimal System?
Yeah, that's how they're organized, is by the Dewey Decimal System. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so I mean, you were dedicated if you were going to the library looking for this stuff. So I mean, I would read everything I could on native legends, and if I could find something on Bigfoot or ghosts or UFOs or you name it, I was looking at it if it was odd. Mm-hmm. And then as an adult, I was living in East Texas, and I was watching The Legend of Boggy Creek on TV one night. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, that's Fouke's not that far from me. I wonder if people are looking, actually looking into it here. Had no idea. And the internet was still relatively new. And I remember Googling Texas Bigfoot, and a bunch of organizations came up. And I applied to the TBRC and took off from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Supposedly there's a big Bigfoot population in the Ozarks down here in Missouri. Yeah. I was just talking with BMR was here in St. Louis. He flew in St. Louis to meet Krista, and they went with Krista's husband. They drove down to Alabama, and I got to meet them. We were talking about Ozark country. So that might be a quick trip from here. I think it's 5 hours from where I am.
That's pretty cool. That's great. I mean, I've heard the Ozark howler, but the descriptions of it vary. I've heard descriptions where it looks more like a Bigfoot, and I've heard descriptions where it looks more like a Dogman or werewolf. Mm-hmm. And I've heard, it's a big cat. I don't know what that could be.
Yeah. I mean, there are, they say there's what do they say? There are mountain lions around here.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. I've never seen one around here, but well, yeah, they've had people seeing pictures on the news and stuff. So what was one of your big aha moments when you realized that, Bigfoot is real?
Well, I'm going to be honest in saying that I have never seen one. Mm-hmm. I've never found evidence that couldn't have been faked or reproduced somehow. So I was always exceptionally skeptical. And I would always say, and I still do say, I believe in the possibility, right? So it wasn't until I had a Dogman, werewolf, whatever you want to call it, sighting that I'm like, okay, well, those are definitely real. Yeah. So if this is an actual creature, then I can't say that 100% Bigfoot doesn't exist just because I've never found anything concrete. I've had crazy experiences. I've had crazy encounters. There have been a lot of things for me. There's been a lot of compelling things like Moon at Noon, like the Patterson film. I believe that's a legit film. I do believe that's a legit film.
Yeah.
But there's always that piece of my mind anyway that was always like, well, maybe it's not. I don't know. I mean, I know Bob. I know Bob Gimlin, and I just can't imagine him making a story up.
Yeah.
So, if Patterson was on it, I don't believe Gimlin was. And I mean, that whole film kind of, I know there's a lot of controversy about it, but I personally think it's real. But it wasn't until after I had my Dogman sighting that I was like, okay, I can't say they're not real, because if that's real, that's real.
Right. And back then when the Patterson Gimlin film first came out, it was so much harder to fake these things with editing and film. It could be done, but it was so much harder to do that.
I know, in the suits that were available back then. I mean, even the greatest effects, we're talking about like Planet of the Apes era. Yeah. And Planet of the Apes looks like dudes in costumes. I mean,
exactly.
It doesn't look as realistic as that.
Yeah, and even if you can't picture that, if you're a baseball fan, look at any of the team's mascots back in the 60s or 70s. They look awful compared to what they look like now. And nowadays it's just so easy to put film over another and edit it that way and just completely fake everything. And that's I don't know what that's accomplishing, really.
Yeah, I mean, these days, to be honest with you, I don't know that I would believe a crystal clear footage, that doesn't look edited. It's because AI is so good now. I don't know that I would even believe that. Like, I'd need to see a body. I mean, as far as evidence goes, if somebody popped up with this, I'd be like, well, that's a great clear photo, but I can't prove it's not AI.
Thank you, Massey.
Oh, thanks, Miss.
Appreciate that. But yeah, like you said, you haven't seen a Bigfoot. I haven't seen one either, but I believe that they are out there. I would be 100% certain if I would actually see one.
Sure.
I believe, some of the stories that I hear from certain people. I mean, we know who the credible people are. So, it's just a shame that there are some people out there that tend to fake this stuff. And
I know it just ruins it for everybody. Do you know, I mean, gosh, I can't remember the guy's name. This was probably 7-8 years ago. He was going around with the Muppets trying to say that they were real Bigfoot up in the Cascades, I want to say, or up in Canada, up in the Rocky Mountain.
Wait a minute. What?
Canada. Gosh, I can't remember his name. He's a researcher, and he was going around with these photos trying to claim that they were, legit photos of Bigfoot, and they looked like Muppets. To me. I mean, they were clear photos. Yeah. But I couldn't tell if it was some crazy form of editing or if it was like a puppet out there in the woods. And of course, a lot of people believe that they are real because there really is something there, I think. But I don't know.
Definitely, Moon. Yeah, definitely. And that's unfortunate, I think. So.
It is. I mean, that's why, a lot of people believe you have to collect physical evidence in the form of a body, right? But let's say that you were able to achieve that, right? Collecting a specimen. You think the government's going to let that slide?
No.
Yeah. How long is it going to be before that body disappears and, you're threatened 6 ways to Sunday to keep your mouth shut?
Just as quick as all the government vehicles would come in for an alien crash someplace, scooping up all the evidence. Nothing happened here. You didn't see anything. Just go about your little business. And I don't know why that is. I mean, why do we need to be in the dark, you think, so much?
I mean, I think that the government doesn't give the public the credit it's due. Like, I really think if they were to come out and say 100% these things exist, there would be panic, like mass panic. People would flood into the national parks with guns, probably shooting each other before they shoot any, any kind of cryptid.
Do that anyway in the cities and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, they almost do it down here in the South. So.
Yeah. But I can understand if they're reverse engineering UFO crafts, for defense purposes. But
100%.
I
believe Skunkworks is probably doing something like that.
Yeah.
I can totally see that.
Yeah. T-Bone had a question here. Do you think the samurai gibberish is a language? I don't know what that is.
You don't?
No.
The Ron Moorhead recordings?
Mm-mm.
It legit sounds like a samurai. Like,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Well,
I'm not sure if it's anything. I'm sure it is a language. I'm not sure how I feel about those recordings. I mean, they've had them analyzed and they're saying that they're not within the range, like the vocal range of a human.
Mhm.
I've seen that documentary or report. But again, I don't know. If it's anything, I do think it is probably a language.
they have to communicate somehow. And just like dolphins, whales, any other sea creature, I mean, communicating with clicks and beeps and stuff, maybe that's their language.
Yeah, I mean, it was that, or because of where it was recorded, and it sounds very aggressive. I mean, it's very loud.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a warning, like, get out of here.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't a language. It was just like, bleh.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, do you think that they are spiritual?
Ooh, see, like the rational part of me wants to say no way. They're flesh and blood, but there are instances so I'm going to compare it to Dogman, let's say, because like from my experience, I don't know where this thing came from because I saw it in Dallas. I saw it in a city, right? Now, granted, it was in the neighborhoods. It was back in some pretty large estates, but still, like, are they keeping it as a pet? Did it just break out of its shin? Like, where did this thing come from?
Right.
And part of me is like, well, I think things really need to be flesh and blood. And then the other part of me is like, well, they could totally be spiritual. They could be something presenting, like facing as these creatures, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it's possible for it to be both. It depends on the experience. I think that there are definitely flesh and blood creatures out there, but I also think there are things that are presenting themselves as these that are not flesh and blood. They're definitely some sort of entity.
I hear the story of either the Dogman or Bigfoot or whichever cryptid is here and then a mile away in a second. How in the world can they do that?
Right.
I mean, yeah, they're 8-10 feet tall or whatever, but also they can't cover that amount of space that fast.
They can't, but there could be more than one, right? So one goes into hiding or whatever you want to call it, and the other one pops up like, I'm over here. Maybe they're trying to lure you out of an area.
Mm-hmm.
Like their young is here or whatever. They don't want you here. They're trying to herd you towards a larger group of them so they can smash you on the head with a rock. They're just trying, like there's more than one working together.
And they probably do that. I mean, I'm sure that they are good hunters.
Oh, heck yeah.
I mean, they've survived this long and, hey, little boy, I got a candy bar. I shouldn't say that. That sounded bad.
Hey, guy, I got a beer.
There you go. What? Where?
Right.
But, and I always used to love walking through caves and stuff, whether they're commercial caves or if I happen to see one. There's actually one not too far from here. But, I'm not so sure that I want to do that anymore. Well, one, because I'm starting to get a little claustrophobic in my old age, but
yeah, I am too. I can't do. I love caves, the ones that I have been in. Like I've been in Mammoth Cave. I've been down at Ape Cave, right in Washington State, which is like a big dead end hole in the ground, essentially. Yeah. But again, like an unexplored cave or one that's just on somebody's land. I don't know if I could do that, just because, like you, I've gotten terribly claustrophobic as I age. But the map where they're laying the sightings or even the missing people reports right over the cave systems, there's got to be something to that. Like they're using them as networks. I could totally see that happening.
You almost wonder if, like you mentioned, the missing persons, that I'm sure there's some nasty, crazy people out here that are doing stuff like that.
Oh, sure.
But I wonder if a good chunk of it is either Dogman, Bigfoot, aliens taking people.
Sure.
I mean, people disappear without a trace. How can that be?
Well, I mean, it depends, I think, on where it is, right? The national parks, if you go into the heavily wooded ones, specific. I mean, I have a lot more experience in the Pacific Northwest, let's say. You can disappear in there. You can walk 20 feet in and blend in.
Yeah.
You know, somebody who's killed or incapacitated laying down in that foliage is going to get looked over easily. So I think that, you know, if they disappear, aliens are 100%, like abduction is a possibility. I think there are a lot of cave systems, lava tube systems, because I know when we hike around, you know, Washington mainly, and Oregon too, there are lava tubes that will break open underneath you. Like there's warnings, you know, all over the place, you know, be careful. It happens. It's not common, but it does. It's been known to happen. You can fall into it.
Yeah.
If it, you know, can knock you out and drag you in one, or you can just fall down, break your leg, and you're hiking alone, and you're found 50 years later when a hunter goes to take a leak in the bushes.
Here's a good one. When Bigfoot is relaxing and a human disturbs him, does he look to his left at his friend and say, "Hold my beer"?
He needs the beer to lure him away.
Yeah. Here's my beer. Yeah. Oh boy. So tell me about your, I haven't heard your Dogman experience.
So my Dogman experience, well, it took place in, like, I want to say 2014, somewhere around there, 13, 14. And it was 11:30 at night. It was in Dallas. I was driving to pick my daughter up from work, and I would take a shortcut through this, you know, fairly affluent neighborhood that have pretty large estates, right, to cross over to where her job was. Mm-hmm. And the neighborhood that I would cut through doesn't really have a lot of streetlights, like very few streetlights. It's pretty dark. And the front yards are expansive, and the houses are actually down on a creek. So you can kind of see the rooftop of the homes farther back down the lawns. And again, it was Christmas time. I remember because there was a lawn ornament, Christmas lawn ornament. And I turn onto the street, right? And I'm just coming into the turn, right? I just straightened out from the turn. I hadn't even really accelerated yet. There was a street light maybe 30 yards away, kind of illuminating an area. And I see movement coming towards the car, right? Towards the street. And it's low and it's on all fours. And I'm just thinking, oh gosh, it's a dog, right? And the trajectory, I'm going to hit it. If I speed up, I'm going to hit it. Yeah. So I don't really hit the accelerator. And this thing notices my car and starts, like, kind of veers towards my car, starts coming towards my car. And I'm thinking, what a dumb dog. It's stupid. So, but anyway, it starts coming towards me, and I start turning my head to, like, look and see what's up. And as it gets closer, it starts kind of hopping, jumping, we'll say. It's not running like a dog anymore. It's kind of hopping. And as I'm turning my head, I get hit with this, like, feeling of just negative, right? Evil. I call it evil. That's what I liken it to. I've never felt anything like it before. I mean, I was terrified for no reason. I've never been that scared in my life.
A feeling of absolute fear, or just
like dread, like terror, like evil. Like, it's hard to describe unless you feel it. It was like oppressive. I call it evil because it just felt evil. Yeah. And out of nowhere, like, I don't know where this is coming from, and I'm, like, terrified. And I haven't even turned my head fully to see what's going on over here, right? So I'm turning my head. I've got this crazy, like, tsunami of maliciousness hitting me. Mm-hmm. And the dog's, like, hopping, jumping. And the closer it gets, the higher it's kind of bounding, right? And I'm thinking, what the heck? And when it lands maybe 10, 15 feet from my passenger window. And, you know, it lands to where, you know, I'm almost lined up with it exactly when it lands. And it lands with, like, one arm down and one arm up, like, for balance. And then it puts its arm down, and And I really can't remember if it stood up or started to stand up. I know I never really fully saw the legs. It seemed like it was starting to stand up, but then it crouched back down and it like craned its head to look down into my passenger window. And it just followed me, like looking through the window as I'm rolling by slowly. And I remember that craning and doing this. And it had like the hump on the back of its neck, like that kind of hyena hump. And it had the pointy ears and it had a snout, but it wasn't like super long. It was kind of a stubby snout, more like a bear, I would say.
Okay.
And I remember that like the finer hairs were like lit from the street light coming down on it.
Do you notice the eyes at all?
I don't remember the eyes. The whole thing was freaking me out. I remember there was a voice in my head, like telling me, don't look it in the eye. Like, don't look right at it. You know what that is. Like, you know what that is. And you can't unsee this.
Yeah.
And so the voice in my head is like, I've got that malicious feeling. I got a voice in my head telling me, don't look at it in the eyes. Don't look right at it. You know what it is. You can't unsee it. And I snap out of it and I slam on the gas and just take off. And as I'm flying down this dark road, because that was like the only street light for quite a ways, I remember I was afraid. I was terrified still. The feeling wasn't constantly coming on me anymore. But I remember I was afraid to look in the rearview mirror because I didn't want to see it chasing me. Yeah. But at the same time, I was just convinced I was going to feel it like land on the back of my car any minute. And I'm running through stop signs. I'm just flying down the street and I'm thinking, this thing's going to catch me. It's like they're going to find my car on the side of the road and there's going to be blood everywhere and nobody's going to know what happened to me.
Yeah.
And I finally get, to where my daughter was working and I parked to where I'm facing the street and I'm just sitting there waiting for her to come out of work. And I'm thinking, God, I hope this thing like didn't follow me. I'm going to see it like come out of this dark street into this well-lit area. And I don't want to see that again.
So after you picked up your daughter, did you have to go back that same way?
Well, I thought about it. I was like, if I go back there and it's still there, like my daughter will see it too. And I'll be like that. I'm not crazy. I really did see this and I experienced this, but then I thought, well, I don't want my daughter to experience what I just experienced.
How old did you say she was at the time?
She was 17, I want to say. Okay. She was still in high school.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. And so we went the long way home. I remember that. So we went the long way home and I felt kind of bad because I had made my daughter like walk down that dark street before, like after work, and I'd pick her up like on the other side. And I was like, I feel really bad. Holy cow. What if that thing was like stalking her while she was walking down the road?
Yeah, no kidding.
So we get home. I remember we get home and I was like, get in the house. Like, I didn't know what to do. I remember laying in bed that night, just still really scared, thinking, can that thing like track me? Can it smell, like follow my scent? Like, can it track me back?
Smell your fear yeah.
I was like, I don't know how these things work. Can it find me from this? Like I was legitimately scared to like walk from my car to the back door at night. And back then I used to run through my neighborhood at night. Because it's, a little hilly and it get a better workout. And I tried it once, maybe twice. I think it was just once though. And I got like maybe halfway through the run and every leaf scratching across the sidewalk or every, wind, rustling a bush, I would like almost have a coronary because I'm thinking this thing's here. It's found me. It's in the bushes. Right. So I had to turn around and go home and I couldn't run anymore at night. But what's funny is that like 6 months later, a large group of my friends and I were camping up in Skookum Meadows, right in Washington. And I don't know if you know where that is. It's in the middle of nowhere in the Gifford Show. And I didn't care. I was not scared. I could walk through the woods. Like it didn't bother me. I wasn't scared doing any of that, but I was scared running through my neighborhood.
Well, I mean, exactly that there was something there when you drove by that. I totally get that, but wow. And I would think that they would. I mean, dogs can sense fear in humans. I would think any other kind of animal would too. So yeah, I would say that they would be able to track you.
I know. I mean, that's what I thought. For the longest time, I was, like I said, I was scared just walking because it wasn't that far. It was maybe like 20 feet from my car to the back door. Right.
Yeah.
But I was afraid to do that.
Yeah.
Thinking this thing's gonna like pop up like a Jack in the Box out of my bushes one night while I'm coming home.
Yeah. Come here, young lady. I have a beer for you. Did you ever tell your daughter about that?
I did. Eventually. And she was just like, all right, you know, because when it first happened to me, I was afraid to tell people because, you know, I had a reputation for being very rational, very skeptical, you know, very, you know, I've got to weigh everything, like just trying to be level-headed, right? And I'm thinking they're going to think I'm completely insane. I've gone, you know, nuts. And I did try to tell one friend, like within a couple of days of it happening. Mm-hmm. I tried to tell a good friend of mine in Dallas, and they told me, they completely dismissed me. They said, "Oh, you don't know what you saw. But whatever it was not what you're trying to tell me you saw. You didn't see that. You don't know what you looked at. You don't know what you saw, essentially." Yeah. And that was so insulting because I'm like, you know, at this point, I've been researching for 12 years. I mean, I've been in the woods quite a bit. You know, I've done my due diligence out hunting or researching, and I'm thinking, you're trying to tell me that I can't tell the difference between a dog and something that looks like a movie monster? Like, you're telling me I don't know the difference between that?
Yeah, you know, I was just going to ask, you were doing research before that, so yeah, you would know what you saw. But man, that's I don't know. I don't know why people would not believe you though.
It just solidified my keep your mouth shut. They're either not going to believe you or they're going to think that like your cheese went right off the cracker, girl. Like they're going to think you've been hunting. You're like, you've been investigating just way too long. Like, and I've seen it happen with other researchers, right? I've seen them like completely like just, and you can see the cheese sliding like in slow motion over the I was thinking, gosh, they're going to think that's me.
Yeah. Now, would you consider getting a dash cam?
So I do have a dash cam now, but it's not for that purpose. Oh, yeah. Because I don't anticipate seeing another one. I mean, I really kind of don't want to see one like that. I do have a dash cam just because the people in DFW don't know how to drive. Yeah. And I need the evidence if something were to happen.
I've been there once, and I kind of agree with you. And I actually walked through the city. I was kind of scared going through the intersection.
You should. It's not a walking city.
No. I forgot what part of town we were in.
Probably in like Deep Ellum or something. Or
it was for a convention. My wife sold Scentsy at the time. It was for a Scentsy convention at it wasn't any stadium or anything, but it was in a really big auditorium or something. I can't remember the name of it.
Okay. I wonder if it was Kay Bailey on the south side of town, or it could have been the Trade Center. I mean, there's a lot of places where
it was probably the Trade Center.
Yeah,
that kind of rings a bell, and the place was huge from what I remember. But
it is.
But yeah, we stayed at a hotel not couple blocks away, and anyway, I forgot what I was going after this.
Have you had any kind of encounters?
Not Bigfoot.
Well, not necessarily Bigfoot, but I mean, like I've seen ghosts, I've seen all kinds of things.
Well, I mean, I'm sitting here and I bought some cat balls, and I've had some on my desk, for in case I'm doing a show and it goes on, it'd be kind of cool. Mm-hmm. But like I was saying before, I went to Ashmore with Blondes and Booze, and that was my first ghost hunt, and we had some really cool stuff happen to us. And going into this, I knew I believed in ghosts and stuff, and I knew something was out there. I just wasn't sure what I was going to get. And I had always watched the Ghost Adventures, all the kind of corny TV shows, and I've always kind of thought to myself, would I react the way they do when they see something, or am I just gonna just take it with a grain of salt and stuff? So, and kind of before I was thinking, the disembodied voices that they have on tape, are they real, or can they really not hear them until they play it back?
Mm-hmm.
So I was still on the fence about that before. So we had some things happen. We had some rocks thrown in our general direction. Heard footsteps. There's a boiler room there that a ghost of a guy named Joe, I think, who doesn't like women, was down there. And I went down there with a camera. I had a bell in my hand. Crystal was there. Crystal McGee was there, and her daughter, Courtney. And the bell kept going off. I had it sitting on the floor. The bell kept going off, and we had the cat balls, and they were going off a lot. So I'm video recording this room. I'm old. I still say videotaping.
I do too.
And I used to do that for a living. So I'm recording this room with my camera, and then I'm home the next week. I'm watching it, and I'm like, oh man, I heard the grunting, but we heard that with our ears that night. And then, okay, there's the bell ring, and then all of a sudden, and you also hear people in other rooms. I mean, we weren't the only ones in there, so there was people in the other rooms. You can tell the difference of people talking like that. Sure. And then all of a sudden, I heard, "We're watching," and I'm looking around my office here where I was doing the editing, and I rewound it again. "We're watching." I'm like, "Oh yes." Somebody was watching. That wasn't me. That wasn't the people that I was with there. It wasn't anybody in another room. So I captured something really good on camera. So
that's awesome.
It was awesome for my first time.
I've never caught anything on camera like that. I've caught EVPs on digital recorders though.
Yeah. I think I want to do that the next time. I want to get a digital recorder. And next time I'm out, I want to do something like that. And what do you think of using your phone, the voice memo? Hey, there's my dogs.
Why not?
The voice recording. Yeah. I mean,
give it a go.
Yeah. I tried that here.
When you're playing back, you got to amp up the volume, because I know that our EVPs would vary. Like the first one I ever caught and heard, I was lucky because it sounded like whatever it was like up on the mic, right? And you can hear us in the background because we were holding it, out away from us as we're walking, and you can hear like somebody asking a question and another person answering it, and you can tell the difference. Like you said, you can tell the difference between, people talking in the background and then whatever it is talking into the microphone, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this woman's voice says, "She's over there." I mean, It was just like, it was none of our voices. It was so crazy.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
The first one you catch is always like, ooh.
I know. I was pumped. I ran downstairs, showed my wife, showed my son, showed people at work. They think I'm nuts, but
yeah, they think I'm nuts at work too.
Yeah. We also did a couple rounds of the Estes method in the place, and I was under the thing. I didn't hear a whole lot of voices. You could hear people talking back and forth, like talking to each other, and it was really kind of staticky. But a couple other people had them, and they were saying really smart responses that we were getting back. What's your favorite color? Green.
Okay.
Stuff like that. So there was something there that was communicating with us.
Right.
So, yeah.
So it wasn't residual. It was like I
don't think so.
The name of it is when they're intellectual.
Yeah.
Haunting.
Yeah. And they were communicating with it. It was very interesting and very, very neat to see for the first time. And I'm glad I did that. They said that once you do the first one, you're going to be hooked. Just like getting tattoos or whatever. Once you get the first one, you're going to be hooked, and
right.
It's God's truth.
True.
Yeah.
It is true.
Where is your favorite place to hunt or to investigate? I should say, not hunt.
Bigfoot.
Either one. Bigfoot, Dogman.
So my favorite place to investigate is, I enjoyed investigating out in the original Area X in southeast Oklahoma. So that would be the closest to me. And I also enjoyed investigating out around Skooka Meadows. We did see some odd things, but nothing ever like really Bigfoot related happened to me,
Right.
or anybody that I think we were with. And we tried. But again, those are such broad swaths of land, the chances of you like coming across something,
Yeah.
and it definitely could have been there, and it just didn't make itself known.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it's like finding a needle in a haystack or a moving needle in 500 haystacks,
Yeah.
That's what it's like. And, if the best way to hunt really is to take a look at recent sightings, take a look at recent news reports, get a feel for the area, and then go in there and try to, scout out a little bit and see if you have any luck. I mean, it's just such a crapshoot, I think, when you just kind of go out in the woods and try to do your thing.
What would you? So I'm going to go on. I'll be down at the LBL in October, and so that'll be my first, I guess, Bigfoot hunt. What would you tell somebody who is going out on their first one to do, or not to do?
If you have never been investigating, don't go in there expecting to have a lot of activity. Even though it's a place that there are a lot of stories coming out of. Research by and large is a very boring thing. Like 9 times out of 10, nothing's happening. You might see something odd. I mean, for the 22 years that I've done research, I've again never seen a Bigfoot. I've never heard or seen anything that couldn't have been reproduced. I was bluff charged, but I mean, that could have been a bear, that could have been a big cat. I mean, it's a scary story, and I was definitely scared when it happened.
Well, yeah.
Say that it was a Bigfoot, even though that's what we were out there looking for. And, just be prepared for a long night, have fun with it. Yeah. And, hopefully you'll get something, but don't go in there expecting a lot of activity, expecting it.
I'm kind of taking it the way I took Ashmore for my first ghost hunt, to kind of just, hope for the best, hope to not get eaten.
Right.
But, just, have fun, enjoy it. And, hopefully by luck, I will capture something.
And if you're not used to being in the woods in the dark, like, try not to let it get in your head, because it's a spooky place if you're not used to that.
Yeah. I haven't been in the woods in day or night in years. I remember growing up, there was a small patch of woods, maybe like 50 yards deep or something like that. And there was a creek running through it. And I remember one time when I was a kid, a bunch of us, we found clothing in the creek.
Oh.
We never figured it out, what happened to it or whose it was or what. So, that was kind of
that's cool. Spooky. That's just spooky. That's like true crime spooky.
now, I didn't think it then. I remember just kind of looking around and, okay, well, we went back to my house and played or whatever. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, what really happened? I wonder if somebody kidnapped there and what. So,
it could have been so many things. It could have been homeless people. I guess it just depends on the location, right? How far away it was, how isolated it might have been.
We were in a pretty suburban area, so.
Okay.
So, Ristel here had a question for you. Where's your bucket list Bigfoot location?
To investigate? Let's see. I think I would really like to investigate the Yeren in the mountains of China.
Ooh. Ooh.
That would be my bucket list.
Have you researched that?
I've researched it some. The locals do believe that there's, big man apes up in the mountains. I don't know that there have been any recent stories about them. It's been a hot minute, to be honest with you, since I've really looked into it. But when I was investigating it, I was thinking, that's really remote. It's kind of an isolated area.
Yeah.
Right. I think that it would be, even if I don't find anything, it would be a fascinating place to go just to look, just to poke around in.
Yeah. And, they're really everywhere. I mean, you could probably throw a dart at a moving globe, and, pick some place to go. And I'm sure there's something.
Oh, yeah. I mean, anywhere. There's stories of wild men. I mean, really. And that's what I would liken it to, right? Old stories all around the globe. Like you said, there's the Almas, there's the Yeren, there's the Orang Pendek. It's really just all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's another one. Sheldon. Have you ever seen orbs or strange lights?
Yes.
I've seen orbs in pictures, but not in person.
I have seen them in person. I've seen orbs like 50, 60 feet up in the top of the pine trees. Right. Definitely not fireflies, because that far away, the light wouldn't be as bright.
Right.
And they would dance around on the tops of the trees. I've seen on the Olympic Peninsula, there was this weird red light on a ridge line that was coming down, because it clear cut up to a point and then the trees started again. And coming down, and we just happened to be there looking up. And, my friend Brian, we both had our sons with us. And I want to say it was his son that was like, what's that over there? So we looked up on this mountaintop and you could see the red light, and then it would blink out seemingly. And then another like straight line red light would come down.
Yeah.
And then it would blink out, and then another straight light. I mean, it went on for a while. And I remember looking through the binoculars in that direction, and you could see, it looked almost like a flare, but who's number one shooting flares in a clear cut? And it would start like at the top, like level with the top of the pine trees, which looked pretty tall, and they were far away. And it would come down, and you could see it through the binoculars. And it did look a lot like a flare, but I swear you could kind of see it trace back up and then come back down, almost like a yo-yo.
Wow. Yeah.
It was the strangest thing. And then out in East Texas, I saw the Bragg road light, which was very interesting, because I was out there after a rainstorm, and it was probably 2 or 3 in the morning. We were the only truck going down this dirt road, and we didn't see anything going one way. So we turned around and came back the way we had come. And all of a sudden there was a light in the middle of the road, and it does look like a motorcycle light, like an old school, like halogen round motorcycle light. And no matter how close we got to it, because we were speeding down that road, it stayed the same size. It might do this or it might do this, but it didn't get bigger like it was coming at us, or we were getting closer to it. And I remember eventually it swelled and it shrunk and it swelled, and then it just kind of collapsed on itself. And as we're driving back down the road, this dirt road, again, it had just rained, and our tire tracks were the only one coming down, because I'm looking to be like, is somebody on a motorcycle out here, like looking for tire tracks pulling off, in the brush, and there was nothing.
Right.
So I think it was the Bragg light. I think I did see it.
Okay. So Missy Bash, I wonder if the red lights were UFO search beams. Could very well be.
Yeah. I mean, I have no idea what it was. I don't know why anybody would be shooting flares out in a clear cut.
Yeah. So that kind of, I've been thinking of this one for a while. So Barton and Letitia go down to the LBL quite a bit, and he's been saying that over the past few months, maybe a year or so, things are amping up out there. He's getting more responses to his calls. They're getting more evidence, more orbs and stuff, more freaky looking things. What would do you have any guess as to why things are amping up at all?
Yeah.
I mean, as a researcher, I would think you would have a better understanding of that than me.
Why?
Yeah.
When the seasons change, I think that you get a little more activity in the warmer months than you do in the colder months. I mean, that's just pattern, right?
Okay.
I do think that there are migration patterns for some Bigfoot. I don't know about Dogman, but I think that Bigfoot in the South specifically probably does migrate a little bit.
Really?
But other than that, I mean, it could be any number of things. I mean, like the geomagnetic, shell around the Earth, with all the solar storms. I mean, it could be a lot of different things that we're not necessarily 100% in tune with that are stirring things up a little bit.
I do know that there has been a lot of sunstorms going out and shooting stuff out from the sun that have hit the Earth more so than in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that could be something maybe.
I mean, it's hard to say what's causing it, in my opinion. Like, unless you have tracked this spot over a very long time and documented, every, fluctuation, and you start to see patterns, and then you start broadening your outlook to see, okay, well, this is a pattern that's happening every, let's say, 2 years, right? Every 2 years, we get some crazy amount of activity. Let's go back in those 2 years and see what happened, again, what other pattern is going on in those 2 years that could be causing it.
Okay. Got another question here. What is your dream Bigfoot cryptid location and ghost location? You gave your location in China.
Yeah.
I'm going to say at least my ghost location, I would love to do an overnight at Alcatraz.
Oh, that's cool. They have night tours there now.
Yeah. But I don't know that I would want to go in with that big of a crowd. I'm sure there's going to be a huge crowd going in there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they limit at. But I would like to have like maybe 20 people or so go in there and just kind of have free reign over the whole island and just kind of...
That would be cool.
That would be...
I wonder if the park system rents it out where you could do that. I wonder if they do.
I'm sure it wouldn't be cheap too.
I'm sure it wouldn't, but it would be worth it.
Yeah, definitely.
But if you get a large enough crew together, maybe you could do shifts, pay for it, everybody pays for it, but when people go in from midnight to 3 and 3 to 6,
Yeah. Or well, I mean, if you have enough people, I guess it wouldn't be as bad.
Yeah,
it might have to go more than 20. Yeah.
And they probably limit where you could go. I'd want to go under the prison, right, down into the tunnels, and then down into the old Civil War areas.
Yeah, or even the. Do they have a gas chamber in Alcatraz? I don't think they do.
I don't think they executed there. They execute in San Quentin.
Okay.
Alcatraz was just where they stuck you to let you die of old age.
Yeah, away from everything else. Die of old age or sharks trying to escape.
Yeah. I mean, it's no joke. Those currents are crazy.
Yeah. I used to watch, I can't remember the name of the show, but talking about the people that tried to escape, and some of them were never found. And, where are they? I mean, did they get eaten? Did they get swept out to the ocean or?
Really do.
Really?
I do.
That would be really. Yeah. That would be interesting to, be the one that got away from Alcatraz.
Right? Well, they can't really brag on it because then the federal marshals.
Well, that is true. That is true. So Pancho, the question before was, where would your dream location be in the United States?
Oh, in the U.S.
Yeah.
Okay.
He clarified.
Paranormal, whatever.
Yep.
That's a good question because there's a lot of them that I would like to hit. I would like to research in the Superstition Mountains in Arizona. I would like to, I'm trying to think because I've been to a lot of places. So somewhere I might not have been. I think the Superstition Mountains are pretty high up on that list because you can really investigate ghost and cryptid. There's all kinds of things happening up in those mountains.
Yeah.
That are creepy. And I would also say the Trinity National Forest in California, Northern California. There's a lot of creepy stuff going on there. My mom
It would be fun.
spent like 3 days camping in there, and she had some insane things happen while she was up in that forest. So I think, you go into places like that, or the superstition, or really anywhere that's pretty rich with, lore and legends and stories, throughout the centuries, throughout history. You go in there with the right frame of mind, you're probably going to have something happen if you're there long enough, right? Because I feel like the vibrations you're putting out is what you're attracting in. And if you're in that state of mind to have a paranormal specifically experience, I don't know that like you're going to have a Bigfoot or Dogman experience doing that, but I really feel like you're more in tune to perceive the paranormal and other little like fey cryptid kind of things that are a little more in tune to the vibes. I think you're more likely to have that happen.
We didn't even get into the Fae tonight.
How much? That's a lot to unpack.
I know.
Because it covers so much.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I was going to try and ask you, but I don't think we can cover that in 8 minutes. Oh, well, we'll have another time.
Yeah, so, another time.
Yeah.
We'll unload the Fae.
Yeah. Well, you got Missy Bash will go with you to the Sister Mountains.
Hopefully we get to keep our heads and come out alive.
Yeah, no kidding. I wouldn't mind going around where Skinwalker Ranch is in Utah.
Yes.
There's so much going on that show on the ranch.
The whole basin, yeah.
Yeah. It just seems so freaking interesting, and you wouldn't leave there disappointed, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, I think that you're going to have something happen. And it's all over the place, right? Because it's creature sightings, there's UFOs in the sky, there's all kinds of like, even kind of ghostly things going on there. You get your hidden tilt with everything, I think, if you're lucky when you get out there. And then another place that I thought of, there is in Utah on the Ute Reservation, there is a Skinwalker Canyon that is actually off limits to everybody. If I could get in there, that would be sweet.
I think I saw that on a Ghost Adventures episode one time, that they got in there.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it was a canyon, but I don't remember much more about the episode. 'Cause I normally just kind of watch the first part of it when they talk about the history of wherever they're going, and then
Well, the interest kind of wanes from there, right? Because then they just start like screaming obscenities. And trying to provoke things, which I think is ridiculous. Yeah. Because number one, I know it's show. Number two, if it was legit, the stuff that you're going to provoke, like, why are you doing that? You're going to get all kinds of attachments.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just crazy. And yeah, I've stopped watching TV many years ago. Stick to YouTube. The funny thing is, my son always watched YouTube, never watched TV, and we would always kind of hound him to not watch so much YouTube.
Yes, I'm right there with my son currently.
Isn't it ironic that that's all I watch now?
I know, right?
I almost feel guilty.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day that, because we don't have cable, we stream everything. So I've got like all the channels and I've got all the things, and I'm still watching YouTube or watching TikTok. Like that's far more fascinating to me.
Yeah. And I just really watch TV for sports and stuff. So that's basically it, sports. So yeah, but
I watch murder shows and old, what were we watching tonight before I jumped on here? We were watching Unsolved Mysteries, like the old 80s.
Oh, the old, yeah.
Right. Or I'm trying to find Kolchak, because I think we own all of the Kolchak, the movies and the TV show. I love watching that.
I was watching the old, some of the old Unsolved Mysteries too. I had knee surgery in last year January, and I started watching some of those, and I just kept going and going and going. It was
Robert Stack's voice is awesome.
Yeah, and creepy, just kind of creepy,
right? And then that ting 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 ting, like that creepy music in the background too. Yeah.
But Monica, this was a fun night. I enjoyed this. Hope everybody else in chat did. And you are on Thursday nights at 10 o'clock Central, right?
Correct. I sure am. I come on after the Blondes and Booze over on Texas Front Porch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So make sure you check her out. I'm on Saturday nights at 7:00, right before from 7 to 8-ish, before Josh comes on with PRT, and he's going to be coming on here in a few minutes. So we will step aside. We will say thank you, guys. Hope everybody enjoyed it. I do want to thank Ridge Runner 2 for his gift of 10 memberships. So thank you very much. The girls will be very happy with that. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Stay safe out there, whatever you guys decide to do. And Blondes and Booze will be back next Thursday. I have no idea who they have on. But make sure you check out Monica as well. So have a great night, everybody. Thanks for watching. And I'm trying to find where the out is. Oh, here it is. All right. Good night, everybody.
Night.